Posso chiedere a qualcuno... Va in automatico? Perfetto. Sì.
Donc,
bonjour.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous et bienvenue à la conférence de presse de Vers un avenir radieux, Il Sol Dell'Avenire de Monsieur Nanni Moretti.
Tomorrow by Nanni Moretti, who we have in the middle of the table.
Nanni Moretti, à qui je laisse le soin de présenter son équipe.
Moretti might like to introduce the other people here at the rostrum.
Sì, allora le mie sceneggiatrici, ma scenarista Francesca Marciano, Federica Pontremoli, Valia Santella.
Francesca Marciano, Federica Pontremoli, Valia Santella.
Margherita Bui è la quinta volta di seguito che lavoriamo insieme. Barbora Bobulova è la prima volta che lavoriamo insieme. E i produttori Domenico Procacci e Paolo Del Brocco. Poi non c'è bisogno di traduzione perché sono dei nomi.
And there is no need to actually translate at this point because you have all the names here. I'll give you the list of the actors.
Blu Yoshimi, Giuseppe Scoditti, Flavio Furno, Michele Burnea, Francesco Brandi, Angelo Galdi, Sune Iu, Elena Lietti, Carolina Pavone. Bene.
Alors Nanni Moretti, je crois qu'il y a déjà beaucoup de questions dans la salle, mais je me permets de vous poser la première.
I would like to ask the first question to you. This is a film on two missed opportunities. First of all, the Italian Communist Party in '56, and the second is Giovanni with his wife. Did you find this balance right at the outset?
No, diversi anni fa, 6 o 7,
con le sceneggiatrici avevamo
provato a scrivere
together with the scriptwriters, we tried to write a film which took place from beginning to end in 1956. We didn't manage to write that script, so I gave up on the idea, and I shot the film Tre Piani, 3 floors. Then I got back in touch with the scriptwriters, and I said to them that I wanted to go back to the year 1956. I wanted to talk about the director who was shooting this film, his love life, his specific traits, the way he was, his hopes. I wanted to depict all these features of the director. Whence this film. And Giovanni, the main character in the film, is in the course of writing a film, and he is imagining what might be really true in this story. I gave a lot of thought to the matter. I also thought about the various takes. I wanted to talk about 40 or 50 years in the life of a couple and also in the life of a nation, a country. Giovanni is shooting his film while writing another one at the same time. He's trying to imagine a third film full of songs. So, intentionally or not, he imagines himself he views himself as younger, perhaps.
Buongiorno. Esther Bouillant, Eurojournaliste, Strasbourg.
I work for a newspaper in Strasbourg. I really laughed last night. Thank you very much. Your film is a comedy that makes you think about the world. I have a question for Mr. Moretti. What is the best procedure for creating a comic film? How do you make people laugh? The best way of creating a comedy, well, I could talk about myself, if you like, from the very start. Since my very first shorts, shot with a Super 8, which are now 50 years old, I have been talking about the world I'm familiar with, my social and political background, my generation. I wanted to talk about all these things in an ironic fashion. I talk about the world, I talk about my environment, my background. Irony is a way of being ironic about oneself at the same time. I have a question for Nanni. I'm Bridget from Radio Flamme, Cherbourg, France. I saw your film yesterday evening. It was very late, but you don't fall asleep, you don't feel bored. It does one good. It puts you in a very good mood. I have a short question. Between you and me, who is the director who inspired the role of Giovanni? Another less important question. Martin Scorsese, has he seen your film? And if he has, did he give you any feedback?
No feedback.
No, I didn't get any feedback.
Come ne usciremo? Ne usciremo?
How am I going to manage? Martin Scorsese? No, I don't think he's seen my film. I tried to get in touch with him, but of course I didn't have the right email address. And what was your first question? Ah, yes. Which director inspires Giovanni? Well, Giovanni Moretti.
It's Rodrigo Fonseca from Brazil. Show question to Mr. Nanni Moretti. Usually, your acting is always great. I can remember a movie like Caos Calmo that you had a wonderful performance. But I think in this film is your best acting ever. I would like to understand how do you prepare to build a character like Giovanni, if there is a Moretti method of acting, like your own actor's studio.
No, quando scriviamo la sceneggiatura insieme, noi non ci dividiamo il blocco.
You write a script, or when we go about the writing, we don't usually divide up the different parts of the film. You write the character of one person, I do the character of someone else. No, all the four of us, we write together. And when we're writing, we read out the dialogue. We try to see whether the character works well, whether it's overwritten, too literary. And when preparing the script, therefore, I rehearse. And then, contrary to young directors in violent films who think and who say that the first take is always the best, well, that's not what I believe in the least. I need to repeat things until I get just the right take, the one that really suits me, and I progress slowly. if you move forward slowly, you end up with the right tone, with the right feeling in the dialogues.
È una delle fasi del lavoro che
I like to work in this manner.
Che vivo con maggiore intensità, quella della recitazione.
So all this preparatory work and the directing, that's how it works. Even when the actors can manage really all by themselves, like my neighbor.
Voisines Margherita et Barbora. Et on a bien compris que Giovanni c'est Nanni, mais
so
est-ce qu'il y a une différence
Nanni,
justement sur
but
le
is there a
plateau
difference
entre
on the
Nanni
set
réalisateur
between Nanni and the director and Giovanni as the director?
Comment?
Per tutte e due, vai.
Oui?
Per le due?
Oui?
Barbara. Ma tu hai lavorato 5 volte con Nanni, io una sola, quindi hai il diritto di
I've worked 5 times with Nanni Moretti, and it's my first time, so why should I be the first time to give an answer?
Sono la nuova arrivata, sì, in questa famiglia morettiana, per cui io effettivamente
I'm a newcomer in Moretti's family.
Non sapevo bene cosa aspettarmi.
When I turned up on the set, I really didn't know what to expect. Of course, I was told a lot about Moretti. I heard just about everything and anything about him. And I was extremely surprised, astounded to see how he works. He's very intense. Nanni Moretti places the actors at the center of what he does, and the relation he has with the actors is a very special one. The whole of the set becomes quite special. For me, it's a marvelous experience, which I will always remember. I'll never forget it. Nanni Moretti is incredibly human and kind, both on the set and in real life. That's what I think.
No, va bene, sì. Sono assolutamente d'accordo. C'è questa umanità, questa voglia di essere...
I agree entirely. You have this great humanism in Nanni Moretti. He's coherent, he's very precise, he's perfect, he's always trying to bring out the best in each actor in the film, and you feel extraordinarily safe when you work with him as an actor. I don't know whether the characters are improved thanks to all this. I think probably you feel extraordinarily safe.
Gabriela Bravo, pour Culture d'Arte Chile.
J'ai une question pour Monsieur. I have a question for Mr. Moretti.
La dernière fois que vous avez venu
the last time you came to the Cannes Festival, you came with 3 floors. And at the end, you posted up a photo of yourself with a message according to which you didn't win, but the film which won was a film about a woman who falls in love with her Cadillac, and that you felt old and that time was racing by. I don't find it very elegant to ask questions about the jury. But I wanted to know whether this experience you described inspired you for this new film.
No. Guardi, il mio, tra virgolette, lavoro di spettatore
my work, so to speak, as a spectator, has an impact on my work as a director. My experience as a spectator does have an influence on the person I am when I'm a director. More than a director or a screenwriter or an actor, I'm a producer. I also manage a movie theater, but I'm a spectator at the same time. All this comes together. Thus, as a spectator, often, as I say in the film, I note that directors are often a bit unaware or irresponsible when they depict violence. I think they're irresponsible. These directors don't realize what they're doing. I'm not talking about films that talk about only violence. This year, I saw a film. You'll have to remind me of the name. Holy Spider, an Iranian film, which talks about a serial killer. I really liked the film. It wasn't pure violence, and the aesthetics were wonderful.
Yeah, Signore Moretti, there's a moment in the movie where there's a scherzo about Netflix, and I was wondering if that was a greater statement about streaming and the impact on cinema.
Lei che dice?
And what do you think?
Naturalmente, allora non mi andava di mettere un nome finto, tipo
I didn't want to invent a name, talk about Starflix, for example, so I talked about Netflix. And Netflix in this film symbolizes all the networks. There isn't just Netflix, you have Amazon, you have Disney, and all sorts of platforms.
A me dispiace che
there's something that displeases me.
Produttori e sceneggiatori
a number of directors and a number of screenwriters
docilmente alle piattaforme
just give way to the platforms. They bow to the platforms. Insofar as I'm concerned, I think we should continue to feel emotionally and psychologically and economically engaged vis-à-vis the cinema. That's what I think.
Non è quello che penso io, questo è quello che vivo io. Quello che vivo.
And it's not just what I think, it's what I live every day. I have a film that crops up in my mind. I think of making it, and I'm not going to think about a 13-year-old child in Pennsylvania who's going to watch films on his mobile phone while taking the metro. No. When I think about making a film, I make it for a movie theater where the spectators come to see much bigger images, and I continue to think of writing scripts and make films thinking about the movie theaters.
Oui, bonjour.
E poi, come avrà capito,
and as you will have no doubt understood, when I write my scripts, I don't follow handbooks, guidelines for writing scripts. A director who makes a real film in 1956, during the Soviet invasion of Hungary, well, that director who's making a real film starts to dance around to an Aretha Franklin song, and I wanted to show that scene.
Bonjour, Margherita et Barbora ont souligné cette mise au centre de la.
You underscore the importance of actors and this great humanism. The hero, however, the director, contrary to the actors, is portrayed as being very egocentric and very intransigent. The women he lives with want to become very independent, however. So it's a bit odd. You have the egocentric director and then the actors who are totally different. It seems very difficult to negotiate, to talk to people in your film.
Ma per chi era la domanda? Per voi?
Per Barbora. Io non ho capito il finale della domanda, neanche mi sa.
I didn't really understand your question. Could you perhaps repeat the end of your question and tell us who the question is addressed to?
Est-ce que, Madame, micro?
Alors, excusez-moi, je pensais que c'était clair.
I'm sorry, I thought I was being clear.
Le film apparaît dans une immense tendresse de tous les figurants.
Appears very gentle in terms of all the actors. They're very gentle and kind, and that's moving for the spectator. However, the director, the hero in the film, is exhausting because he's so intransigent, he's so authoritarian. And his wife and daughter, who love him very dearly, note that it's very difficult to live next to him, to have some space. So isn't there a bit of a contradiction? You have this great gentleness and kindness on the one hand. Yes, there is indeed a contradiction. Paola leaves. So there is a contradiction. Our lives, our days are full of contradictions. And Paola, portrayed by Margherita Boy, packs her bags and leaves after having resisted for 40 years.
Monsieur?
Bonjour, Jean-Claude Mirabella, La
Voce.
C'est une question pour Nanni Moretti.
I have a question for Nanni Moretti and the scriptwriters. You said earlier on that this was a film on two missed opportunities. I don't agree. Maybe there was just one, the Italian Communist Party, and that's what Moretti sees and shows. Was more logical than the French Communist Party. And there's a very powerful moment in the film, a great moment in the cinema, where the picture of Stalin is torn up and the person says he's a dictator. So they were much more clear-thinking than in France. And then there's a love story, of course. You have the participation of the circus in the film. That's a wonderful thing to have found. It's a film in the film, and Nanni Moretti is quite masterful. There isn't just one film in the film, there are two films within the film, with the very young director who's present also. So what's your question? I want to know whether he agrees with the way in which I described the film. I know that the French Communist Party was even more Stalinist than the Italian Communist Party. But I'd like to remind you of the fact that this photo of Stalin, which is torn in the film, it's not torn up by a character in the film, but by me personally. So My position was very ingenious when I say it was a missed opportunity for the left, for the whole of the left in the West, to rid itself of the hegemony of the Soviet Union. It's a rather ingenious, naive position, because at the time the world was divided into two blocks, as recalled by Ennio, the character, and Vera. You had to be on one side or the other. So, as you can see, any number of directors felt happy with a kind of horrible reality that they then depict for the spectators. On the contrary, it's as though they were punching the spectators in the stomach. One could imagine in the cinema, one could think that imagining a different reality, a better reality, whence the ending of the film.
Question là-bas, à ma gauche.
Hello, Lina Bassi from Ukraine, Hollywood Foreign Press. My question is to Nanni Moretti. Thank you very much for the film. I enjoyed it very much. Yesterday is a self-irony and a lot of other things, but I would like to ask you about the how important for you was to include a television chronicle about Hungarian uprising in the film that lasted actually 12 days before being crushed by Soviet tanks in November 1956. Thank you very much.
Ma non l'ho detto prima, ora voglio ricordare che noi
actually say that, but we wrote the screenplay prior to the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Certo, poi quando è scoppiata, quando c'è stata questa invasione russa e io stavo girando questa coincidenza,
the Russian invasion of Ukraine took place, it impressed me a lot. It was like a coincidence, considering what we have in the film. When we showed in the film the images of the time, the date from 1956, you see the Soviet tanks rolling into Budapest. That reminded us of the Russian tanks in 2022.
Mi è capitato in passato di precedere l'attualità, mai una volta che mi segua questa attualità.
It has already happened that I sort of precede reality. Reality follows me, doesn't precede me. So there's something that deeply impressed me. The war has become a hot topic in the news again. We thought we'd ridden ourselves of war for once and all. I have a question, just to talk about irony in the film. In this film, you can see the fervor of the first films which made us fall in love with your work. There's a lot of irony in your film, but there's a scene which really made me laugh tremendously. It's the scene where everyone is sitting at the table, and there's a young man who doesn't know what communism is. Is this scene really important for you? Because it's something that one shouldn't forget. Communism did exist in all sorts of different ways, including in Hungary.
Forse ci sono diversi motivi all'origine di quella scena.
There are different reasons for having this scene in the film. The main reason was to tell the public that this young person was so engaged in the film that young people today don't even know what we're talking about when there is a sort of a malaise, an uncomfortable feeling when Giovanni is waiting in the kitchen for the Korean producers to read the script. He says, well, this film isn't going to interest anyone. What I wanted was to talk about Giovanni's engagement, his deep involvement with the film. And this film tells a story that nobody knows, but it interests me greatly, personally.
Cette conférence sur cette question, et je vous remercie,
Thank you for the question.
Monsieur Nanni Moretti.
Thank you, Nanni Moretti, for this film.
Merci à tous.
And thank you to you all.
Domande carine. Andiamo un attimo. Domande carine hanno fatto.
Vabbè, tutto bene.
Carolina, come facevi a sapere che era Holy Spider?
Brava che è, mamma mia. È bello il film,
Ce l'ho io. Tu vai liscia?